This podcast is presented by Skies Magazine. If you're interested in the Canadian aviation industry, Skies is your go-to multimedia resource for the latest news, in-depth features, stunning photography, and insightful video coverage. Whether you're an aviation professional or enthusiast, Skies is dedicated to keeping you informed and bringing your passion for aviation to life. Visit skiesmag.com to learn more and subscribe to stay updated on all things Canadian aviation.
Fuel and ignition switches on. RPM switches set. TD switches normal. Doors and hatches closed. Light out. Strobe light on. Restart check is complete. Clear left. Engineers, start number 2. Starting 2. Wind 310, Pilot Project Podcast. Clear takeoff. Runway 31 left.
All right, we're ready for departure here at the Pilot Project Podcast, the best source for stories and advice from RCAF and mission aviation pilots, brought to you by Skies Magazine. I'm your host, Brian Morrison, and here with me once again today for the conclusion of our 2-part series on the CH-124 Sea King and life at sea as a pilot is my very good friend, Captain Niels Olson. Niels, it's awesome to have you back here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. Good to be back.
Listeners can check out part 1 to hear about Niels' journey into the RCAF and through flight training, as well as some overall info about life as a Sea King pilot. Today in part 2, we'll be diving in depth into his experiences deploying onboard Canadian frigates around the world with the Sea King. So listeners will probably remember we mentioned that one of your first big sails was going to Op Artemis with CTF 150, which is Combined Task Force 150. Let's go back to that. What was the mission and what was Canada contributing?
So the mission for Op Artemis is our contribution to CTF 150, and it is a counter-narcotics, counter-terror operation in the Indian Ocean off the coast of East Africa and south of Asia.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of narcotics, heroin, etc., that are shipped from South Asia, like Pakistan, Afghanistan, over to Africa. And this was Canada's contribution, was to send a ship and intercept the vessels that are transporting the heroin.
You were saying that basically the heroin is used to fund like Al-Shabaab's terrorist activities, basically?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's one of their sources of income. So we were disrupting it.
So when we talk about Combined Task Force or CTF 150, like what is it composed of?
It's a bunch of different nations who commit to this operation. I think the UK is involved. The US is involved. While I was there was one Canadian ship and we were off the coast of Africa. And there was also an Australian ship kind of closer to Pakistan.
So were you guys, like, were the two ships ever interacting or were they always far apart?
We were separated by quite a bit, but there was definitely some communication between, like,
yeah,
they would spot something, or they, LRPs are involved as well.
And for the listeners, LRP is long range patrol and refers to aircraft like the CP-140 Aurora or our new and upcoming P-8 Poseidon.
For reconnaissance and intelligence, and then we would take that and intercept.
Yeah, but like the ships were never like alongside or anything like that.
No, we were never beside each other. No.
Okay.
No, we never saw each other.
Did you, as the aircraft on board, ever like work in conjunction with any of these other aircraft or ships or anything?
No, we were too far away. So during our time in CTF 150, we did not see another allied ship.
It was basically you were working as part of a team, but
yeah, we're on opposite sides of a really big field.
Yeah. As part of this mission, early in the trip, you ended up doing an aircraft swap near Hawaii.
Yeah.
How does that work logistically, and what's the process for getting that done?
It was quite complicated. So we had damaged our helicopter landing on HMCS Protector, and we were supposed to be, like, we're leaving. We're on our way to CTF 150, and we have this incident, and the helicopter is unserviceable. And at the time, we had kind of just swapped helicopters with HMCS Protector. Like, they needed to use our deck. We needed to use theirs just for some training. And there was an incident. We fouled their deck. We broke our helicopter, and we ended up taking theirs. I wasn't involved in the logistics of swapping it over. We managed to get our helicopter inside protector and clean up the deck and all that. And I was there for a few days while my deck commander sorted out all the logistics.
The Protector was like the old resupply ship we had, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's an AOR. Yeah.
What's AOR again?
Auxiliary Oiler Replenishment. It's essentially just a big supply ship.
Yeah.
They store food and oil, and they'll supply a whole group of ships.
Yeah.
And resupply them at sea.
Is that the one that had the fire?
It is, yes. It was after that sail. Also, they were in Hawaii at the time. So
Okay.
Hawaii, not a great place for a protector.
Yeah.
They were a few hundred miles north of Hawaii, and they had that fire that lasted, geez, at least a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty.
That must have been pretty scary.
Yeah, I know some aircrew who were on board at the time with their parents.
Really?
Actually. Yeah. So the Navy does this thing, they call it a Tiger Cruise, where on the last port stop prior to returning home, they send a bunch of their ship's crew home early. They can take their post-deployment leave, annual and whatever, and then they're all rested up and their commitments are done post-deployment, and then they can take over the ship while the rest of the ship's company takes their leave.
Okay.
So there's a time where there's just a bunch of empty beds on the ship, so they invite friends and family to come join. So usually it's just a transit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. My mom joined me for one.
Really?
Yeah. At the end of this sail, actually, the CTF 151. Yep.
Cool. Unless the ship catches on fire.
Yeah. You want that story now? I can tell it now.
The fire story?
No, the with my mom on board. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So we came back via Dutch Harbor was our last port of call before Esquimalt. And we sent a bunch of ship's company home. And Dutch Harbor heard that we were coming, like small town, right?
Where is that?
You might know it, Alaska on the Aleutian Islands. It's what's that crabbing show?
Deadliest Catch.
Deadliest Catch. So it's filmed and follows crews or a crew. I've never seen the show. And they operate out of Dutch Harbor. So pretty wild seas up there, pretty wild weather, and a small community. So when they heard a Canadian Navy ship was coming in, they were all super excited. And they had there's a big storm coming, like a big one. All the crabbing vessels were coming in. So, if Deadliest Catch isn't going to be out there and that's like what they're looking for their show, it's going to be pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
So we're all excited. I was like, oh, this is sweet. Like, we're going to be in this little town, nice little visit. And I had heard that they were getting ready the whole town was getting ready to greet us and bring out the crab, and then at the last minute, we're just like, nope, we're going. And they're like, you're insane.
Oh, like you guys were going out into the storm.
We left. Yeah, we left in the storm. And I remember my mom was on board and I was like, okay, Mom, like this is going to get a little bit crazy. You need to be careful. She's a little bit older, has never been on a warship before. Go figure. And we got out there and we are rolling like 35 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
Like as soon as we left the harbor, essentially, it was just wild.
Do you think it was like the worst seas you've been in?
It was up there. Yeah. It was 35, 40 degrees. We went up into Flyco, which is like, it overlooks the flight deck on the back of the ship. So it's about maybe 20 feet up from the flight deck, 15, 20 feet. So when the ship rolls, like, you're just on that lever arm a little bit farther. So you're really kind of starting to swing up there, right?
Yeah.
And we would roll one way and then the wave would be like not that far away from you and it is above your head. And then the next one comes and you kind of get close to it and then it kind of rolls away and, you're hanging on to every bit of metal that you can. And we were in the officer's mess. And there's a couple of couches set up in front of a TV and they're not secured to the ground. And my friends' dads were on board. Usually it was mostly males that were interested in this and my mom.
Yeah.
And one of them is sitting like kind of lengthwise right in front of her. And there's like 3 200-pound plus men on that couch. And she is kind of sitting by the armrest facing that couch. And I feel a big roll coming. And I'm like, oh, this couch is going to move. And it starts to slide right into her. And she is just clueless.
Yeah.
The poor lady. I had to grab her legs up and onto the couch while this thing slid across the room and slammed into where she was sitting. Like she would have broke both of her legs.
Oh my gosh.
My mom likes to have a good time and she's laughing. I'm like, I don't think you realize how serious this is. And at the time our helicopter was broken. We had a big hole in one of our rotor blades. So we were operating on a deviation. So we were not allowed to take passengers, but air crew could fly. So even if she broke her legs, like we might not be able to turn around the ship in this storm. We would not be able to fly her off on the helicopter. She would have just been in pain with 2 broken legs.
Oh my gosh.
Like, Mom, you got to smarten up.
That sounds like really scary to be in weather like that.
It's a different environment. Like I guess you could kind of get used to it. What I found was most troublesome with that is that you're, as someone who's not in the Navy, and really not a whole lot of interest in that, is this kind of where I landed. Learning to trust the vessel and its construction, and that is designed to take this kind of punishment, it takes a while. So, you go through like 1 or 2 or 3 like good storms, and you're up on the bridge and you're watching the waves crash over the front of the boat and onto the windscreen that looks out from the bridge. And you see salt water just slamming everything. You see it a few times and then you start to build some trust. And you're like, okay, this is not going to break, even though you're in your rack and you can hear a wave as it moves along the side of the ship, and you can hear every little bit of frame kind of bending as the wave moves down. You get used to it and you learn to trust it. It's twisting under its own weight in the waves. So it's kind of,
That's wild. Like I was going to ask, if it sounds maybe a little silly, but like, is there ever a point where you're like, oh my gosh, like what if we sink?
Yeah. Well, they have like a 3-step kind of thing, right? Like first they got to float, and then they got to move, and then they can fight.
Yeah.
Right. And so you hear about some ships, like the engines stop working or whatever. That's bad. But if you're not like engaged in a battle, like you're not going to die. You're just going to float there until you can get towed or fixed or something and move under your own power again. So these things are designed to float.
Okay.
And it did occur to me, and I would be running to the helicopter. I was like, I'm going for help.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Back to the mission of Op Artemis. During this, did you end up encountering any suspicious vessels or interdictions during the deployment, like any of those drug smugglers?
Oh, yeah. Funny story. So, we found one. We boarded it. The boarding party, because it's like a civilian vessel, there's, we had a JAG on board to kind of help us navigate international law and Canadian law and CTF 150 and the UN resolutions and all that. So,
and a JAG, for listeners, is just a military lawyer.
Yeah. And essentially, we need to seek permission for every bit of searching that we do, and drilling little holes and putting a camera in there and looking around, documents and everything. So we found this dhow, and I think we got something like 80 kilograms of heroin off the boat after a long search. And then once we get the drugs off, like they're kind of free to go. So we seize the drugs, we get a bunch of paper, we photocopy it all, and no one can read what's on the paper. We can't read it. So we photocopy it all, then we send it back to Canada to get translated. And the dhow finishes its trip, goes into Africa, resupplies, and it turns around. And then while it's alongside doing its thing, We get the papers back, and there's a registry of how much heroin was on board, and it was like 140 kilograms. So there was like, we got like half of it essentially on our own search, and then they went alongside, obviously sold the rest, came back out, then we boarded them again. We're like, where's the rest? I'm like, well, it's gone because it went to where it needs to go. So we asked them like, well, where was it? And you know, it happens to these guys all the time. They're constantly boarded.
Mm-hmm.
And their drugs are constantly seized. So it's not a new experience for them. I'm like, oh yeah, it was up here, like behind these cabinets or something. We got this stuff like in the walls, but we didn't check the ceiling, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure like these guys are masters at hiding this stuff, right? Like this is their life.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure it's not a good thing for them if like it's constantly getting seized.
Yeah. So if we could rewind a little bit to my first deployment while we're talking about drug interdictions and capturing something. We were that first deployment down to off Carib.
Which was along the west coast of Mexico, right?
South of that. So we went all the way down to Colombia.
Okay.
On the first sail at 3 months. I think it was about 3 months. And we were doing the same thing essentially, but with cocaine. They were obviously, it's coming from Colombia. They're smuggling cocaine into Central and North America.
Mm-hmm.
And they would use like fast fiberglass boats with like 2 outboard 250 horsepower engines.
Yeah, they call them go fast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they would typically travel at night and then tarp up during the day to camouflage. And then the sun would go down. They'd just blast it again, go like 40 knots. So we chased one down. We positioned our ship right in front of them right before the sun came up, and we were like, surprise, we're here. And there's a helicopter on them, and the rib is out, and they're boarded. So what they do, there's 3 guys on board, and we had just come out of Colombia on the Pacific side, and it was an interesting place. Not a lot of built up kind of civilization on the west side of Colombia, at least not where we were. It's like all jungle. So these guys are coming off the west coast. They're transiting the Pacific. They get busted by Canada, and we have U.S. Coast Guard on board helping us out with that. And they decide to scuttle their boat.
Which means sink it.
Sink it, yeah. They just pull a plug like a big bathtub, and they fill it full of water, and down it goes. And it's a double fiberglass hull. So it's fiberglass, and then they fill it with cocaine, and then they put another fiberglass on top. And the structure is essentially made of fiberglass and cocaine.
Okay.
And they pull the plug. And then they're out there floating in the ocean with no ship. And we pull them out of the water. And we're not really bringing them on board our ship onto Canadian soil, essentially. So we're kind of figuring out what to do, and we want to hand them directly to the U.S. Coast Guard for law enforcement. And while they're kind of floating in the ocean and our rib is out there, we're stopped, and we're figuring out what to do with these guys. And you can see like they're scared, like their whole world is turned upside down. Most of these guys are victims of the same cartel that we're fighting. So they might roll, the cartel might roll into their village and say, you're going to take this ship or this boat to Mexico or California or something. And if you don't, we'll kill your family.
Yeah.
So they're in a predicament right from the start. Likely not of their choosing. And now they find themselves in the middle of the ocean, busted, and they pulled the plug on their boat, and now they're just floating there. So you could see some of the emotions on their face. Like they are so worried. Anyway, while we're waiting for the U.S. Coast Guard to arrive, their boat comes back to the surface. Yeah, it floated up again, and it just starts bobbing. You see the nose of its blue fiberglass hull just pop and break the surface like within 100 feet of us. And we're like, oh, well, there's the boat. So like, well, let's get it. That way we can, we can show all the drugs we got. And yeah, it's It's good. Now it's seized.
Yeah.
Right. So we hook up like ropes or whatever, real like heave ho old school Navy stuff where there's like, 30 of us pulling on this rope around this ballard trying to lift this boat out of the water. And we get it like half out or all the way out, but like halfway up the ship. And we send someone down on a harness with a sawzall. Be like, we need to open this boat up to see what's going on. And, I'm on the rope kind of like looking over the fence. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like what's happening? And the guy goes down with his sawzall and he starts cutting into the fiberglass hull. And then goes, it's like regular fiberglass. And then all of a sudden, like it hits the cocaine pack and the blade's moving back and forth real fast. And it just is like a white cloud just ejected from the boat right into his face. And, that is pure, probably 100% Family Guy style with the uncut cocaine coming just like blasted right in the face with this. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, okay. Certified cocaine boat. And we pull him back up and, he's probably quite messed up.
Was he?
Yeah. He just got hit in the face with
Oh my gosh.
a cloud of cocaine.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we seats it all and took pictures and all that. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. That was like, what did you think was going to happen? Why don't you just like pull it all the way up? Like, there's cocaine in there.
That's hilarious. So once you guys finished with that part of your sail, you were retasked into Standing NATO Maritime Group 2 or SNMG 2. What did that retasking involve in terms of transiting and what was your new mission?
Right. So while we were off the coast of Tanzania in CTF 150 is when Russia invaded Crimea and took it over. And there's, big NATO scare. What does this mean? Ukraine's not NATO, but Russia's advancing. How are we going to respond? So a period of not knowing what this means. So some confusion, just, speculative on the crew. And then we wake up one morning and the prime minister had publicly tasked us to go into the Mediterranean and show support for NATO. So we dropped CTF 150 and then we transited up to Somalia. We waited in the Somali Basin. And this was the period of like 47 days at sea with a quick stop in Djibouti before transiting the Suez Canal into the Mediterranean and joining the maritime group.
So this is when you went 47 days without seeing land.
That's right. So we had like Djibouti stop was like 6 hours. It wasn't even very long. It was enough to get some food and some water or whatever.
And I think you said like not even everybody got to get off the ship.
Yeah, we did organize a bus from the jetty to the Naval Exchange. That's like their Canex. We can do a little bit of shopping. So we got out there. I was one of the lucky few who got off the boat. So I got to walk on land for a little bit. I don't remember seeing a tree there though. So my dream of seeing something green wasn't there, but busy place, very tight security.
That would be all American run there?
Yeah, where we were, it was all Americans, but still like very tight security. And we're told like not to mess around, just do your shopping and come straight back.
Mm-hmm.
So I got some snacks, some protein bars and stuff. And then right back up onto the boat. And then there's another, I think 5 days before we got in line for the Suez and then transited through Egypt up to Greece, Crete.
So you guys, once you joined in with SNMG2, you were in Crete?
That's right. Yeah. That was our first protocol. We were supposed to go for a rest and maintenance period in Kuwait, about 20 days long, I think it was supposed to be. It's kind of like our mid-deployment. Okay, take a break, do some maintenance on the ship and the helicopter, and get ready to go back out and finish your mission. And then we changed. So we canceled Kuwait. We started booking other ports and other things. And then our rest and maintenance period just got moved down and down and down and down. So my wife and I, we were engaged at the time, had this big trip planned because I had about 2 weeks off. We were going to go to Paris. Strasbourg, and then down south to like Monaco and back up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this whole thing. And it's very difficult to plan that on like a shared 56K modem on the ship when you're splitting it with like 200 people. So it took forever. And then we had to cancel the whole thing. We ended up with a 9-day rest period instead. And we just stayed in Paris the whole time. But it was really neat to fly out of Greece into Paris, and then Lindsay coming all the way from Victoria to Paris, and then we met there and had a nice week in Paris.
I mean, that must have been nice at least to get a little break and have some normalcy.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a good opportunity, right? Like the Canadian military will pay for a trip home, or you can use that money and meet in a third location. So,
which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah, of course. Like you're halfway across the world already. What difference is it to Canada?
Yeah, for sure. So this was all, as you said, the crisis where Russia invaded Crimea. What was the atmosphere like amongst the crew and the air crew? Like, what were you guys thinking at the time?
Well, we joined a maritime group, and because in CTF-150 we were solo.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of by ourselves on off of Africa, and now we're in a group with a French ship, Spanish ships, you name it, Greek and Turks and all kinds. So it was a big shift in what essentially the day-to-day had changed quite a bit, and we're trying to figure out where we sit in that group,
mm-hmm.
at least from the air crew perspective. I mean, our mission for the flights didn't change too much. We were still doing a lot of surface and surveillance stuff, but instead of looking for wooden dhows that are transporting drugs, we're looking for other warships.
Yeah, like Russian warships.
Yeah.
Essentially,
we're integrating into NATO.
Mm-hmm.
So
mm-hmm.
Learning their operations, things are a little bit different.
Yeah, and I imagine it probably took a little while to kind of get into the rhythm of what you were there to do and where your spot was.
Yeah, like the Navy has a very strict chain of command. So, if there's an admiral on the French ship, then that person's in charge
mm-hmm.
rather than our ship's captain
mm-hmm.
of the group.
Yeah. So you actually had a funny story about this with, the Sea King's raison d'etre is to find submarines, and you guys actually found one during this portion of the mission.
Oh, yeah. This was, we had just left the Suez Canal. I think we got 12 miles off the coast, so we're into international waters. And then we launched the helicopter to get an idea of what's around. So we have a good radar, we have AIS, all that kind of stuff. We relay a whole bunch of information to the ship.
And for listeners, AIS is Automatic Identification System. It's basically a transponder on the ship that gives position, course, name, and that kind of data.
And we take off, and it was our first mission in the Mediterranean. And almost immediately, we're looking around at all these boats. It's such a busy area. And I see this black one out the window. And what is that? I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a submarine. So we train to find and hunt submarines. And then all of a sudden I look out the window and there's just one sitting there at the surface.
Yeah.
Transiting. And, it was on the surface. It had a flag up, big letters painted on the side to identify it. And, we're like, cert sub. And, everyone gets a little bit excited. And then the ship's ops room, you could kind of hear over the radio, was getting pretty excited. Like, oh, submarine, like this is a big change from what we were doing.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out what's going on. So we photograph it, read a backtrack, and it's a Egyptian training vessel. Like their flag is up. They're not going subsurface or anything. Yeah.
Well, and I would imagine like with the amount of warships and stuff that were moving through the area, they were pretty eager to identify themselves and be like, we are not a threat.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Like you definitely wouldn't want to be a submerged sub with all that stuff going on and all the tensions that were happening at the time.
Yeah. That part of the world there's more uncertainty there, just on a regular day to day than there is where we live.
True. You also had a story about getting a pretty close look at a warship at night.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So we're transiting up to Greece, I think, and we're night flying. And the goggles are a really big help, right? So if someone's even smoking a cigarette, like within 40 miles of you, you can see it on the goggles, especially when over the sea at night where everything's just black. So we're going kind of like from light to light visually to identify each ship. And it's cargo ship, oil ship, mostly merchant vessels. And we're just going light to light. And then we see it unusually bright light. I'm like, oh, what is that? Let's go check that one out. And the goggles have such a glare around that. It's like a big green blob. So we're getting closer and closer and we can't really identify it. And then we get like on top of it, essentially, 500 feet or something. We're not incredibly high. Before that glare kind of shrinks enough and displaces enough that we look down and I'm like, that looks like a helicopter jet. I'm like, oh no. And then they realize like there's the hangar, there's the flight deck, there's the gun. That is a warship. And of course, like we have standoff distances. Like we will not approach another nation's warship without telling them, because we are a state military asset. Yep. That is a state military asset, and it could be a form of aggression. And it was just a mistake. Kind of a silly one on reflection. You're like, maybe we should have gone broadside to it from far away, take some photos, and identify it that way rather than just on topping it.
But it happens in busy waters and like when there's a lot going on. Like I had an experience once in RIMPAC, which is the biggest Navy exercise in the world, in Hawaii for listeners. And we were transiting, and one of like the big no-nos in those exercises is like never fly over an aircraft carrier. There's like massive standoff distances and stuff.
There are, yeah.
And at one point we were flying and I looked down and I see all these lights in the middle of the ocean. And I was like, is that an island? Like, what is that? And the camera operator goes, oh, it's the Nimitz. And we're flying like right over the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier.
Yeah. Like, so same thing happened to you.
Yeah. I mean, we were a lot higher. We were transiting, but you're still not supposed to fly over top of it. So it's like, it happens.
Yeah. We were...
Did you guys contact them and be like, sorry? Or did you just like zip off?
No, we didn't contact them, I don't think.
No. I have to go now.
Yeah. It was like an on top and then immediately, turn away.
Yeah. Well, probably best to just give yourself some distance after that.
Yeah.
So after that deployment, you expected to come home via the shortest route, but that didn't happen. Can you sort of explain like where you thought you'd go and where you ended up going?
Yeah. So we're bumping around the Mediterranean. We went up into Istanbul near the Black Sea. And that's as close as we got to Ukraine, where Crimea is. And at the time, near the end of kind of our deployment, what we thought would be the end, we didn't really know how long it was going to be. We were in the vicinity of Gibraltar. So we hear that our replacement ship is departed, Halifax. They're coming from the East Coast and they're going to enter the Mediterranean. We're going to high five. Okay, it's your box now. We're out. And we're like, okay, we are just reasonable human assumption. I'm not part of the ship's command team by any stretch or fleet command in Victoria or Esquimalt. I'm just a person on board the boat being like, we are 2/3 of the way around the world. And it's a big world. We're going to high five these guys. And I just think, okay, we're going to take the Atlantic and we're either going to go take the Northwest Passage because it's July now. Or we're going to go down, take Panama Canal, and then straight up into back to the West Coast. And we'll get to circumnavigate the globe. Like we did a crossing the line ceremony earlier where we crossed the equator, and that's a big Navy tradition. We won't get into it now, but pretty wild. And then it was just like a bit of a disappointment, I think, when we were gone for so long and there was so much uncertainty. Like when we left, we didn't even have a date for return. So we had no idea.
Because at this point, it had been like, what, 6 months almost?
We're 7 months in.
7 months.
Yeah, and the
Wow.
typical deployment's 6, and we're on the other side of the world still. So we're all antsy to get home. Our loved ones are wondering when we're going to get back, and we don't have a date to tell them.
Mhm.
We'll be back at some point.
And that was because of the nature of the crisis in Crimea.
No, even when we left, going to CTF 150, we did not have a date to come back.
Was that pretty normal at the time for sales, or?
I was still pretty young in my sailing career. I can reasonably think that that's not normal.
Okay.
Yeah, the Navy really needs to plan out well in advance what they're doing, because they're a big logistic support.
True. Yeah.
So, no, we were near Gibraltar and told to turn around. We're going the other way, back through the Suez Canal, across the Indian Ocean. We had the government wanted us to visit some other countries and make some diplomatic appearances. So we ended up visiting Shanghai and Tokyo, Malaysia, made a few port stops.
Was that cool, at least, like seeing those places?
Yeah, definitely. We stopped in Georgetown for like a kind of rest relaxation
Where's
after
that?
the deployment. Malaysia.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, little English island, which was neat. Shanghai was interesting. The Yangtze, very busy waterway.
Mm-hmm.
And just going up like into Shanghai, like big cultural difference between our liberal democracy and their Communist Party.
Mm-hmm.
So some apprehension there.
Yeah, security for you guys must have been pretty tight. Like, I'm sure there was some briefings for the ship and stuff.
Yeah. So before every port we go into, there's usually the ship's intelligence officer will tell us about what's going on in the country. And of course, you're going into China, and just culturally and very different, and the government system very different than what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
So, we go there, we're going around. It's a big city. There's 30 million people there.
Oh, wow.
So I managed to go up the Shanghai Tower, I think it's called, and you kind of look around. It was very like dirty air. You couldn't really see very far, but everything you could see, like you could see 15 miles in every direction. And it's just buildings.
Yeah.
And people, and it's just so much. It's really hard to fathom. And then going from there to Tokyo, almost right after, like it's an even bigger city with even more people, but a whole lot cleaner.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see all kinds of stuff in the Yangtze just floating by.
Like garbage and stuff?
Yeah. And dead animals, garbage.
Oh, wow.
All kinds of, overloaded little boats just moving piles of goods. Yeah. There's a story about some people getting robbed in Shanghai.
What happened?
You're told, hey, be safe. There's criminal organizations everywhere. And I think it was the firefighters on board, all kind of hanging out. And they kind of got like called over by a girl as they're walking down the street, and they just like turn and follow her into this room in this building, and then they just lock the door on them, pull out their 9mm or whatever, and just rob them blind and kick them out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like, so they lost their passports and a bunch of cash and credit cards and stuff.
And then I imagine they had to like report that to the int officer and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And they're like, well, why were you there? Like, we followed a girl.
They've been at sea for 7 months.
Yeah. But it's a classic story.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tale as old as time with sailors. So you went from hopefully being home soon to having a 6-week trip home. What was that like mentally?
Yeah. So the boats just don't transit very fast. Thinking from an aircrew perspective, they're doing like 12 knots,
mm-hmm.
An efficient speed for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's long, and it's over, but you got to keep your game face on. You're still flying every day. Even though you're not part of a mission, it's now time to train and
mm-hmm.
prepare and get as current as you can on all the things that you need to do to maintain your currencies. And you got to write up all your post-deployment stuff and your leave plans and preparation, sim training, all that kind of stuff you need to do when you get home. So It's a busy time. it's work that needs to be done. And the hard part is just keeping your head in the game and not throttling back, just waiting for home, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the end of every deployment's like that. When you start to know that it's almost time to go home, and you start thinking about being home, but you have to stay sharp and you're still operating.
Yeah. It's just like just on a regular cross country too, right? Like that last leg.
Yep.
You just start thinking about home, but you really need to pay attention to what you're doing.
Yes.
You're still flying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after these sales, it was basically time for you to sort of focus on your upgrade. You upgraded to aircraft commander and eventually crew commander. Can you tell us a bit about that process on the Sea King?
Yeah. So aircraft commander, you're upgrading from co-pilot to being in charge of the helicopter. So there's some detail between aircraft commander and crew commander that can sometimes be a little bit confusing. So essentially, when you're an aircraft commander, it's your helicopter, and that duty to fly it safely cannot be delegated. It belongs to you. The crew commander is in charge of the mission. So sometimes there can be a little bit of overlap of interests where the crew commander might want to do something that the aircraft commander doesn't want to do.
Right, because it's important
Yeah.
for listeners to understand that the crew commander could be the pilot who is also the aircraft commander.
Yep.
Or it could be one of the TACOs in the back, which is a navigator, is what they used to be called.
Yeah.
Tactical coordinator in the back could also be the crew commander.
Yeah, and these positions or duties are independent of rank. So there are times where I would be flying as a captain with a major who's a co-pilot and maybe a lieutenant colonel who holds a crew commander qualification, but is not the assigned crew commander for that mission. You know, as a captain, I could hold both. So it's both my aircraft and my mission, and the major and the lieutenant colonel could be there in support. So obviously there's a wealth of knowledge and expertise in the co-pilot and TACO positions, which you'd be a fool not to listen to. So yeah, there is some overlap. Essentially the aircraft commander, it's your bus, right? It's your platform. You're responsible for operating it and bringing it back in one piece. And the crew commander's job is to conduct the mission, whether it's training or operational mission. You could be sub hunting, you could be practicing slinging, hoisting, exercises, whatever, search and rescue. One of the many different missions that we could be assigned as a Sea King helicopter. So the upgrade process for aircraft commander, it does focus almost specifically on handling the aircraft, emergencies, degradation of your capabilities,
Like systems knowledge,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
With a smattering of your crew commander wants you to do this, but you have this, emergency that you might be able to keep going with. And it's about that decision-making process. And then the crew commander upgrade is heavily focused on mission-oriented things. So search and rescue, big surface and subsurface exercises in the simulator.
Yeah, big tactical focus.
Yeah, lots of tactics. So you got to brush up on all your secret stuff and your NATO stuff. Search and rescue, authorities, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like it's kind of cool that we both speak the same language here, because that's basically exactly the same process as on the Aurora and the same hierarchy and stuff. So
yeah. And it can be confusing to someone who's just walking into it.
Yes.
Or someone who doesn't fly at all.
Yeah.
Or has no military experience at all. So yeah, this is the way the duties kind of break down can be a little bit confusing.
Yeah. What was the actual upgrade process like? Like, I imagine there was some sims, and you guys do a board as well, right? Or do you not do a board?
No, there was no board.
Okay.
No, they got rid of that.
Okay.
It was exams. And so the simulator's in Shearwater.
Mm-hmm.
and I was posted to Victoria, so it's like 4,000 kilometers away. So every time you need to go to a sim, like you're flying out there for the week. So the aircraft commander stuff, it's very emergency focused, all that kind of stuff. It takes about a week, exams, and then a flight, and then you get your with usually like the MH set, the standards and evaluation team for the upgrade, and then you get kind of blessed
For like a check ride.
Yeah. And then the crew commander one, there's a crew commander course, or there was, where you have visits from the wing commander, some ex Sea King pilots, and you meet technicians, you meet different trades, ASOPs, tactical officers, other pilots, and they talk about their role, and you get, the ops center will come down and talk about, okay, well, this is the chain of command when you're deployed. This is how Maritime Helicopter is specific to other ATFs, air task forces, and, diplomatic clearance, because we're always operating near or over other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of nuance there, a lot to know. And then there's a big exam, a couple of simulator missions, surface and subsurface, tracking. And as a pilot, there's also emergencies to handle and priorities to set, whether your ship's under attack and you're degraded in your capability, or you're down to one engine, but missiles are flying. Like, what are you going to do? That kind of stuff.
Is there ever a scenario where you ram the submarine?
No, but there was I forget what it's called now. There was one where there was a name for it, but it's essentially Sacrifice the Sea King, where you drive yourself in front of the ship and you take the missile.
Okay.
It'd be very hard to do.
Yeah.
Both emotionally and physically.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to.
Like to intercept an anti-ship missile?
Yeah.
That would be pretty challenging.
With a helicopter. Yeah.
Even if you wanted to.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's lots. It's complicated. And then there was a check ride where you're doing the actual crew commander check ride. And on mine, it was pretty interesting. There's several different scenarios that you go through over like a 2.5 hour mission. And we got interrupted a few times for actual search and rescue callouts.
Oh, wow.
So we're kind of in the Juan de Fuca Strait. And
where's that?
That's between Vancouver Island and Washington State.
Okay.
It's the entrance into Vancouver. And Seattle, right? They all transit the Juan de Fuca. So busy area, and we're like halfway through one exercise. Things are going well. Then we get a search and rescue call out once or twice. I think we got it. Then we got called off the first one. And then the second one was a drowning kayaker.
Oh my.
So, okay, well, let's go. So we respond, we go over. By the time we get there, it's like maybe 25 miles away, 20 miles away. By the time we get there, we identify the person stuck in their kayak, and there's boats all around. So we're not gonna go down there and hoist them out. And we find out later, like the guy is stuck in his kayak because it's a rental and it's got a hole in it, and he doesn't want to let it go because he doesn't want to have to pay for it or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he's trying to swim attached to this giant anchor.
Oh my gosh. Pay the $50 or whatever it is. Like,
we're doing SAR assets for this. Come on. Anyway, that's what I heard. I don't know if it's true.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So you got through your check ride, you upgraded. How did you feel once you were in that leadership position? Like, did you feel the weight of responsibility?
No, I felt ready for it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was ready.
I mean, you had a fair bit of experience by that point, right? Like 7 months straight on a ship. I imagine you're doing a fair bit of flying during that time.
Yeah. I had a few deployments under my belt.
Yeah.
3, I think, including that really long one. So like operationally, I was ready.
Yeah.
I didn't do a lot of flying back at the unit because I was always gone.
Mm-hmm.
So that part I was still kind of exploring. But yeah, I was ready for it. There was a time, so I had another deployment after where we were returning from my last deployment. And I was there. We were in the air deck briefing room. And for whatever reason, I'm talking about the importance of knowing things and absorbing information while you're young and new in your role, because you will be senior one day. And I was talking to my initial category ASOP, my brand new last co-pilot ever on the Sea King, and our TACO, who also just finished 406 OTU.
When you say last co-pilot ever, do you mean like the last one to come out of the operational training unit?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Captain He. And for whatever reason, I just got on this tangent about absorbing information while you can and learn from these things. And I was like, because you're going to find yourself one day likely in the middle of the ocean, and then you're the only senior person around, and everyone around you is brand new. And it's your responsibility. You need to know this stuff because it rests on your shoulders. And as I'm saying this, I'm looking around the room at my brand new co-pilot, brand new TACO, and the first category ASOP. And I was like, oh, like right now. This is why it's important.
Yeah. You all of a sudden you realize you were the old man.
Yeah, I realized I was in the exact situation that I was describing.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about some of your earlier sales. You ended up getting attached to HMCS Vancouver, attending a couple exercises and going on another Op Carib.
Mm-hmm.
From all this, you came home by Christmas from this sale. How important was that for you and Lindsay at the time?
Right. So during that time, Lindsay was pregnant with our first. So I missed a portion of that. Like, we had bought a house, got married, got a dog, renovated. She got pregnant, and then I deployed.
Mm-hmm.
So I was home by Christmas, and then by the time I got back, she was 7 months pregnant, and then at the end of January, so I was really glad to be home. By the end of January, our first was born.
Yeah, that must have been an emotional time for, like, knowing Lindsay as I do. I imagine she was probably pretty emotional when you came home.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember even the 2014 sale for about 9 months, seeing her. I didn't fly off. I walked off the ship and she was waiting at the jetty, just bouncing up and down. It's good to see. Yeah.
Yeah. That must be amazing.
She was always been a trooper while I was gone. It's difficult. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, how did you guys, like you said, you got married, you started a family. How did you balance all that with deployments, like through your relationship and through your time on the Sea King?
Oh, it's hard.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, I took every opportunity I could to call back home. I understand that she's adapting to me not being there, and I don't want to disrupt that flow. But I consciously took about, half an hour or so every day to write an email or something, just to keep her in the loop with what's happening and to feel connected and reply to her emails. And at times they get quite long, but just to have some form of communication. Yeah. There's a phone. There's one satellite phone on the ship that we had to share. So you get 20 minutes a week or something, and you can bank it, but it's not always available. It's usually the middle of the night for us.
Mm-hmm.
Be a daytime for them. And then you got to catch them around work hours and whatever. And, she might not have time to chat when she's pregnant or is pregnant with a 1-year-old and a dog and, and working and daycare and all those sorts of things. So,
yeah, I mean, it sounds like incredibly challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, speaking of that, your next sail was on board the HMCS Winnipeg to South Asia. At that time, your oldest daughter was not quite a year old when you left.
Yeah.
And was Lindsay pregnant then?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, how was that for you, and how was that for Lindsay?
That was a difficult sail.
Yeah.
Like, I had enough by then. I had sailed a lot more than my cohorts,
Mm-hmm.
who I came off the OTU with. I really felt like it was their turn to go, but I also knew I needed to do another one before I got posted. So, yeah, I missed Kata's first birthday. Lindsay was pregnant, and things were really busy and difficult at home.
Mm-hmm.
probably my biggest memory from that is my good friends who I was sailing with were in contact with Lindsay, and they had a big kind of gender reveal thing in the mess for me. And I found out we were having a boy, and it was just like, it was pretty emotional because, you know, you're several months away already. There's that physical and emotional distance a little bit, and it's kind of surreal, kind of that feeling. And the gender reveal is kind of like, you know, just really slammed home that life is continuing, even though I'm out on the boat doing this work, and that there's a lot to look forward to when I get home. And that was pretty emotional.
Yeah. When something punches through
Yeah.
and sort of breaks the barrier between what you're doing operationally when you're far from home and like reminds you like real life is real and actually exists out there.
Yeah, because you're in this zone.
Yeah.
Physically and intellectually just locked into this distance and your job, and your head is down and you're just working.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I can only imagine. Like the one I'm thinking of is when I was deployed over what would have been Melissa's and my first Christmas when we were married. And, you know, that was hard, but like nothing like missing your daughter's first birthday or finding out you're having a boy and you're halfway around the world.
Yeah.
That must be really tough.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So we said you were heading to South Asia for that sail. What was the purpose of that sail?
So that was a training sail for the ship's crew. They had saved up a bunch of their training money from short sails like Esquimalt to Seattle or San Francisco or something. And they accumulated their budget, and then they spent it on a bigger sail across the Pacific. The government ended up tying in a bunch of diplomatic services into that sail. So we visited a lot of countries, hosted a lot of dignitaries and defense attaches. We visited a lot of different countries like India, Sri Lanka, Singapore, Japan, South Korea, Manila, a whole bunch down there. Yeah.
I mean, it must have been hard to be away, but it sounds kind of amazing to see all these places too.
Yeah, that was the bright side for sure. Like your head's down and you're working, and then you kind of like pop up for air, and you got a weekend in Mumbai.
Yeah, or Manila,
yeah. Or Singapore, which is a fantastic place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely get to see the world, and not just like get there, turn around, and come home. Like you're there for a few days. There's usually a duty day here and there, but you make do. So yeah. You know, the experience is a good one. There's lots to take advantage of, for sure.
I think you had a pretty good story about a dinner in Mumbai.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we were at a dinner with the Indian Navy. They were hosting our ship. It was a big conference room. They love whiskey. They love Canadian whiskey.
Okay.
So you walk in and they're just like pushing it on you, right? Like, oh, yeah, please. And, you know, I'm having a good time. I'm with my friends that I made on the ship. We're laughing and joking. And then I get a tap on the shoulder right before dinner starts, or dinner is served. And they want me to move from my table with my cohorts and my friends in equal rank up to the head table. And I was like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. So I sit down, and at the table is our ship's captain, the XO, commander of that region's Navy, the Canadian ambassador to India, and his staff member, and one or two other Indian Navy guys. But like the admiral is the head guy hosting the dinner.
Like the commander of the Indian Navy?
Yeah. Yeah. And he pointed me out of the crowd. He's like, I want that guy to come sit with me. So I was a little bit nervous. And I was like, I don't feel like I belong at that table. And I was really worried because the XO is just staring daggers at me like, don't screw this up.
The XO is executive officer, right? And that's like the deputy commander of the ship?
Yeah, he's the second in command.
Yeah.
And, you know, bit of the disciplinarian for the officer corps. So he's just looking at me like, don't mess this up for us. Right. And the Canadian ambassador's there. He's a super nice guy. and I'm sitting right next to the admiral, and he's a really nice guy, and he's asked me about the sail and what do I think of the Navy and this and that, and I was like, well, it's a different culture, and I'm trying to be like political, and he lets loose that he's a Sea King pilot.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm actually a pilot. I'm not a naval surface officer. And because their Sea King pilots are part of the Navy, and he promoted through. And then he just starts ragging on surface officers. And I'm like, well, I guess I got to join you. And my XO and my CO are Mars officers. And we ended up having a great time. Yeah, this guy was an absolute beauty.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and he gave me this. He gave me a name tag for my flight suit.
Yeah,
and essentially it's a sperm with wings, and it says "Born to Fly." I wore it around the ship after that.
Yeah, you could not wear that these days.
I couldn't. Yeah, no, that was on deployment only, and
I mean, it was from an admiral.
yeah, right. It was great.
That was
yeah.
that was more of a diplomatic gesture.
It was, yeah. So I gave him some. I brought some maple syrup and stuff with me, so I gave him a gift after too.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was. That was ended up being a really great dinner.
Yeah. There's another story as you guys left India involving an electrical fire. So what's the story there?
Oh yeah. So we had about 5 days or so in Mumbai, and we ended up making really good friends with our taxi driver, who was driving from the ship to the airport to shuttle ship's crew back and forth for leave or going home or new crew arriving. And he agreed to take us out on the town one night. And it was our last night in Mumbai. And he's taking us to all of his favorite places. So we are walking and eating and just having a great time, trying all sorts of new foods, all different restaurants, really great sights and smells and tastes and all. It was a wonderful night. Then the next day, early in the morning, we're slipping and we're supposed to go night flying with the Indian Navy to do some exercises together. And like a lot of Canadians who probably visit India for the first time, leaving the country, you kind of have some bowel issues.
Some gastro issues.
So I am like locked in the bathroom. Like I cannot get up. And my good friend Jeff was the other aircraft captain, crew commander on the sail. And I was like, Jeff, he's also the deck commander. And he was, relying on me to pull my weight.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad. I was like, Jeff, I can't leave the bathroom. I can't do this. He's like, it's okay, man. I got it. I'll go. So my co-pilot's launching the helicopter in the LSO, and I'm just in the bathroom.
And for listeners, on a Royal Canadian Navy frigate, the LSO is the landing safety officer. It's when pilots act as a person responsible for safely managing the launch and recovery of the ship's embarked helicopter.
And I can hear the helicopter take off, hover, and depart. And I'm like, okay, they're gone. Maybe I can get like 10 minutes out of the bathroom here and let someone else in there and run back in there. And then as I'm in the bathroom, I hear the alarm go off. Like essentially the helicopter departs. The sound kind of dissipates. And then almost immediately it's like bang, 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 emergency flying stations, electrical fire on the helicopter. And I'm like, oh no. I felt really bad. I was like, poor Jeff, takes my flight. It's nighttime. He's going to go work with the Indian Navy. They're hard to understand over the radio. It's going to be a hard flight, and he volunteers to take it. And then the helicopter lights on fire. And I'm like, oh man, like that should have been me, like this poor guy. Anyways, I pucker up and I run up to the bridge and help him, helping the captain make some decisions that benefit the helicopter. And he lands, and I'm like, oh man, I just felt really bad about that.
Yeah, and obviously everything was fine.
Yeah, that was our first in a long series of electrical fires on that specific helicopter.
Yeah, there were some some gremlins they couldn't chase down, basically? Or
Yeah, so like under the center console, like all the buttons are lit up, and underneath every little button is 2 or 4 incandescent bulbs, and they get really hot.
mm-hmm.
And essentially, one of them was overvolting or something, and it just kept bursting, or maybe it was the bulb. Something was going on. They were bursting, and then it was smoking and arcing. So it just kept happening.
Sweet, fun.
Yeah, you know, the first one's exciting.
Yeah,
The very first one was quite exciting because I felt bad about it. And then, you know, the fifth or sixth, you're just
like, oh, again,
yeah, another electrical fire.
I had a somewhat similar experience when I was in Kuwait and we were flying over Iraq for Op Impact, where I had a day where I just couldn't leave the bathroom. And so it was the only mission I ever skipped. And that was the mission where my crew got shot at over Iraq.
Right? It's like the one. It's always the one.
Yeah. All right, Niels, as we look at wrapping up this series on the Sea King, the Sea King has retired, but as you look back on your experiences as a Sea King pilot, what advice would you give to someone who is interested in operating in the maritime helicopter world?
Right. Well, the fleet has completely changed. So I don't have much to say on the aircraft, other than you're coming from the school that I work at now, and we do our best to prepare our pilots for whatever fleet that they're going on. They don't know until the end, but our training plan is designed to be adaptable to wherever they're assigned. What helped me get through it and really kind of frame the overall perspective on the environment and the maritime helicopter in general is that when you're deployed, it's your work time. And no matter, I think it applies even RCAF wide, like your time in Iraq or whatever, like that's the time where you're there to work. So even though the day-to-day can grind on, you know, you could be at sea for 47 days. That's the work. But then the work ends. Like you get leave, you get time off, and then to really enjoy that time for what it is. If you're a maritime helicopter, that time off could be in Hawaii. It could be in Tokyo. It could be in Greece or France. It could be in the UK and Scotland. Like the Navy goes everywhere. And you really are provided opportunity to explore and experience new things, like an African safari. You're there for the weekend, see if you can go. So enjoy the time off when you get it. Explore the world, absorb those cultures and the differences. And then when it's time to work, just focus on that. And at the end of it, I actually came away with a really good look at Canada and how it sits in the world and the type of life that we have. And we're very fortunate for it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. It sounds like, you know, a challenging experience, but also a really cool kind of eye-opening experience. Like you've really seen a big chunk of the world. And like you said, gained an appreciation for Canada's place in it. And I think that's really unique.
Yeah, that's like the probably the big picture takeaway. You know, while you're in a maritime helicopter group, like it's a different environment than our Air Force centric training and experience up to that point. And it really broadens your horizon to how the Navy works, how NATO works, how international law and open seas work, different warships and transit lanes. And, you know, it's apt right now with the Strait of Hormuz and international waters. The Spratly Islands in the South China Sea, and different views on baselines and what's international and what's sovereign territory. Yeah.
Okay, Niels, that is going to wrap up our chat on the Sea King. We've been friends for a long time, and I feel like over the years I've heard like scraps and bits and pieces of these stories, but it's really cool to sit down and kind of hear your whole journey, hear these stories in full and kind of where they fit into your career. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here for these couple episodes, and I'm really looking forward to sitting down with you again to talk about your time instructing. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Brian. It's a good experience. You know, maybe I could have kept it a little bit more chronological, but lots of good stories, lots of good memories.
Yeah. All right, that wraps up our two-part series on the CH-124 Sea King with Captain Niels Olson. Next week is a very special episode. We are sitting down for our 100th episode. I can hardly believe it. We're sitting down with Lieutenant General Jamie Spicer Blanchette, Commander of the Royal Canadian Air Force. You don't want to miss this one. It's a great update on where the Air Force is and where we're going. Tune in next week. It's going to be great. Do you have any questions or comments about anything you've heard in this show? Would you or someone you know make a great guest, or do you have a great idea for a show? You can reach out to us at thepilotprojectpodcast@gmail.com or on all social media at @podpilotproject. And be sure to check out that social media for lots of great videos of our RCAF and mission aviation aircraft. As always, we'd like to thank you for tuning in and ask for your help with the big three. That's like and follow us on social media, share with your friends, and follow and rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. Keep the blue side up. See ya!
Engineer, shut down all 4. Shutting down all 4 engines.